So you've invested a lot in creating a product team, right? And the product owner is a really important role
It is.
at MasterBorn.
Yeah.
Why is that so important? Can you talk about
Yeah.
the key challenge in building these types of products and why that role is so critical?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I've learned in my career so far in working with tech, software is the output. Software is the thing that gets created, and it runs the app, and it creates the user experience. That's what everyone sees, and that's typically what everyone thinks that they want. This is pretty obvious for people that have been building products for years. I come across this perspective all the time with people who are starting companies. Just because you start a company doesn't mean you necessarily know how to build software. And it's inspiring to me that so many people are willing to try to build companies. There's a real spirit of innovation, and in the United States especially, and many people are trying. And I think one of the things that we bring to our clients is this expertise. So we've seen, I've talked to, in the last 4 years and really the last 15, I've talked to 500 or more founders. It's part of the thing I enjoy most of what I do is listening to people who want to bring a new idea into the world. The reason they're talking to me is because they need a partner to make that happen. I see my role as someone to help them execute the vision that they have in their head. And the learning that we've had is that it's not all about software. Software is the output. The inputs, how you get to the software, really comes with clear thinking, clear product market fit, design, and product. So at MasterBorn, we've invested, as you said, a lot in a product team. We have 15 product owners now in MasterBorn. We also have almost 15 product designers. This is maybe unexpected for a company of one might expect MasterBorn to be mostly developers. However, almost 30% of the company are not developers. We also have Scrum Masters, quality assurance people. It's not just about development. And what I've learned, and we've built 100 prototypes and 30 full functioning products in the last 4 years. The role of the product owner is really key in clarifying the client's vision. And efficiency is incredibly important to me. It's one of the values at MasterBorn, and I would never waste my money. I've actually done it before. I've had experiences before where I have spent 10 years ago. The first experiences I had of building software, funding it myself or as part of the company I was working for, I've seen it go wrong many times. And reflecting on those experiences, it always starts at the beginning with a lack of clarity of the vision and refusal to test product market fit. We all want to believe that our ideas are wonderful and that nothing could be better than what we came up with and what we want to bring to the world. But I think that the function of the product team at MasterBorn is really one that brings clarity and efficiency, two of our values at MasterBorn. And it's really important because we don't want to spend expensive development resources building something that isn't fully thought through. We always, I use the maxim, measure twice, cut once. Sometimes we measure 5 times, but I won't let a client go into development. It's just something we don't sign up for without having we usually say, a clickable prototype that's tested. And there's so many more things you can do, and you can move so much faster before you start coding. And we are never pushing people into development. We're usually slowing them down. So the role of the product team, product design, and product owners is really to help really flesh out and pull out of the client what they want to build. And the reason we stick with it is because it makes the development process so much more efficient. It sometimes cuts it in half or even more. When you have that clarity in the beginning, the development becomes more execution focused. Then you're not asking the developers to get in the client's mind. And so we're kind of solving for that up front. And so the developers can be free to solve the complex technical problems and to implement in a much nicer, much cleaner way what the client wants.
So you've taken that idea and you've productized it, so to speak, in the phase zero service. And I have experience on the client end of working with MasterBorn for phase zero. Can you talk about phase zero and why you would recommend that any client, whether they're a founder with just an idea to someone that's already built a product and is wondering where to go with it, why does phase zero apply in either of those situations?
Absolutely. So in MasterBorn, we've described it as a service business. It is a service business, but in some ways it does kind of evolve into a product company. And we essentially have two offerings. We have a phase zero, which is a 4 to 12 week process of clarifying an idea for a client, creating a clickable prototype, creating user stories, having a near, letting a client and their potential users experience the product, see the vision in real life, and that's really important for us. So we consider that the only way to start a successful software build. That's one of the products that we offer. The other one being really the execution focus, the full squad. This is the product owner, the designer, the front end developers, the DevOps, the back end, the QA. The Scrum Master, that's the full squad, and that's the core of what we do. But the phase zero is really the other offering, and that's a filter for us. Like that's a filter to find the right clients, to make sure that they are willing to invest the time and the thought into building a successful product. And often the result. This is an example of how we're not so attached to forcing a client into a software build. For example, in your experience, when you had an idea of a software product that you wanted to bring to market, really the outcome of the phase zero was a decision not to pursue the idea further. So we see the phase zero as an instrument to help our clients be more efficient with their resources. Had you been less experienced with building software and you had a great idea, possibly your self-belief and possibly your funding sources might have allowed you to just start building the idea.
Right.
We don't want to do that with our clients. We don't want to be in a position where the client is trying to solve a product market fit with software. Software's rarely, if ever, going to solve the product market fit problem. And so we just decide we want to solve for that earlier in the process before we involve the rest of the team. And frankly, as a manager of a team, it goes back to stability again for the company. So for our team, we learned this 4 years ago in some of the first projects we did. Engaging developers in a not fully baked idea it's not fun for anyone. It's not fun for the client. It's not fun for the managers of the team, and it's definitely not fun for the people actually doing the work. There's very few developers that operate in that hyper uncertain environment and can kind of read the mind and build what's those are very rare instances. And I don't, if you're going to do this multiple times, I don't ever advise anyone to hope that the developer can do the design, the DevOps, and the front and back end all at once. So those are the two products that we offer, and the phase zero is like I said, but the efficiency is really important. And often the result of a phase zero, whether it's a solo entrepreneur, someone who's raised a seed round, or a letter round, or even a large developed company, I highly recommend the phase zero process before you start any kind of software development, just because you might get the answer. And we're not afraid for the answer of the phase zero, like in your case, to be that maybe this isn't the idea that I want to pursue right now. It might not be worth building software to support this value proposition.
Right.